Let's see who's on there. Oh, look, it's Bill Perkis. One of the guys from my Diane.
You wrote a good article.
Welcome to the Greater Ann Arbor Life and Legacy Inaugural Donor Appreciation Event. We are here tonight to celebrate you. You have committed to helping provide for the long-term sustainability of our Jewish community by making a legacy gift. My name is Margaret Schreiber, and I've had the honor of serving as the Greater Ann Arbor Life and Legacy Coordinator since January 7th, 2020. In my role as the community-wide coordinator, I've had the pleasure of working with 11 organizations. The Ann Arbor Orthodox Minyan, Beth Israel Congregation, Chabad House of Ann Arbor, Eastern Michigan University Center for Jewish Studies, Hebrew Day School of Ann Arbor, Jewish Community Center of Greater Ann Arbor, Jewish Cultural Society, Jewish Family Services of Washtenaw County, Jewish Federation of Greater Ann Arbor, Temple Beth Emeth, and the University of Michigan Hillel. The groups have come together and pooled time and resources and reached out to you, members of our community, to ask you to invest in our collective future. And you have heeded the call. So far, 185 donors have made 313 promised legacy gifts totaling an estimated $9.2 million to the endowment funds of the 11 organizations participating in the Life and Legacy program. To think, this is only after year 1 of this program. What an amazing accomplishment. And what a year 1 we have had. This has been an extraordinary time to kick off a program that looks to the future. Many of our organizations and many of you were just trying to get through the day-to-day of the pandemic. Yet somehow, in spite of this, we were able to push through, and via Zoom and a lot of creativity, our community was able to discuss life and legacy and start planning for our future, the future of the Jewish people of Greater Ann Arbor. The pandemic has been challenging for many, and yet we are already building to prepare for the hardships that the next generations might face. We will leave this community better off and stronger than when we got here.
Hurry up.
Thank you for being part of this incredible moment.
Do you want me to play it? Start it again.
Apologies, folks. Did it work that time?
It did till you stopped it.
The second time.
Okay, I apologize. It's a good video, I promise.
Thank you, Rachel. We got it to work. And now you know all about the Harold Grinspoon Foundation and the Life and Legacy Program and what you're a part of. Securing the Jewish future, one legacy donor at a time. From the video, you saw that it all starts with one. Thank you for being that one. My name is Tammy Dolan. I'm your legacy consultant from the Harold Grinspoon Foundation. And I have the pleasure and honor of working with your community, with the Ann Arbor Jewish Federation and the Jewish Community Foundation to bring legacy giving to this small and mighty Jewish community. Every one of you here has signed a letter of intent to leave a legacy gift to the organization or organizations that have impacted you throughout your life. Each one of you has a unique story to tell. And I encourage you in the coming year to share your story with others and inspire them to make their legacy gift as well. Many of the legacy donors here tonight, I recognize you, are also serving on legacy teams, giving your time, talent, and expertise to bring legacy giving to your organizations. I thank you for your openness and your courage in learning the language of legacy through our training and applying what you learned by having conversations and inviting others to join you in making a legacy commitment. And what incredible success you've had, as Margaret said earlier. In just the first year, 185 legacy donors, unique donors, who committed over 300 letters of intent worth an estimated future value of $9.2 million to Ann Arbor Jewish organizations, the one that Margaret mentioned. So if you have your little emoticon and you know how to use it, give me a thumbs up or a clapping hands or a woohoo. 59,000, thank you. $59,259 has already been received in cash gifts, people that wanted to start building endowments now, and that will only continue to grow. All 11 organizations who started with us met their year one goal. And of those 11, 7 reached and or exceeded their stretch goal of 25. One team even reaching 43 letters of intent in just the first year. Tonight, we celebrate the incredible achievement of what a community can do when you come together around a simple and powerful idea that anyone can be a legacy donor and ensure that the organizations we love and cherish will thrive and serve the next generation of Jews. And what is even more noteworthy, you started this effort during a global pandemic. You couldn't even have face-to-face conversations with your donors. And that didn't stop you. You knew that people would want to step up for Ann Arbor's Jewish future. And you really are just beginning. Thank you, Eileen Freed and the Federation and Foundation Board for bringing Life and Legacy to Ann Arbor, encouraging Ann Arbor's beloved Jewish organizations to work together toward a stronger whole. A heartfelt acknowledgement and thank you to your legacy coordinator, Margaret Schreiber, who jumped in with great enthusiasm to spearhead the legacy effort in Ann Arbor. She always believed you could do it, even when you did not. On behalf of Harold Grinspoon, the benefactor and founder of the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, Foundation President Winnie Sandler Grinspoon, and Life and Legacy National Director Arlene Schiff, I thank each of you for being our partner in leaving a rich legacy, both spiritual and material, for all those who come after us. Now it's time to dwell a little on the spiritual legacy that each one of us leaves. Rabbi Cohen is a popular speaker on the Life and Legacy Celebration circuit. He blends humor, wisdom, and insight with deep Jewish knowledge to help each of us better navigate contemporary society and lead a life of legacy. Having engaged in hundreds of end-of-life conversations and delivered thousands of eulogies, Rabbi Cohen has a unique perspective on the essence of what makes a meaningful life. He has served in the rabbinate for over 30 years and currently is the senior rabbi at Congregation Agudath Shalom in Stamford, Connecticut. He is the author of What Will They Say About You When You Are Gone? Creating a Life of Legacy. And he has 2 more books in progress. He co-hosts a nationally syndicated radio show called The Rabbi and the Reverend. You can ask him about that. He and his wife are parents to 6 daughters, 2 sons-in-law and one son-in-law to be, and 2 grandsons. I know him, his warmth and wonderful smile personally from his time in Denver, Colorado, and I know we are in for a real treat. So I turn the Zoom room over to Rabbi Cohen.
Tammy, thank you very much for that warm introduction. I have fond memories of our time in Denver, and I really appreciate you including the son-in-laws in the introduction. We love them. And also thank you, Margaret, for your warm hospitality and for inviting me to the Ann Arbor community. And thank you really to everyone here for devoting not only your time and commitment to such a wonderful program of Life and Legacy. And God should continue to bless your community to continue to realize their potential and truly make an eternal impact. I may be speaking to you tonight virtually from Stamford, Connecticut, but I believe that our time together is eternal and our time is real. And I hope to share this evening in the moments that we have together something from my heart. And I hope and pray that it enters into your heart as well. I want to begin my remarks tonight by going back to a number of summers ago. I was in Poland, in a small village called Markowa. And I was walking in the shadow of a farmhouse that seemed very nondescript. It was a beautiful day and there was a breeze. And I learned in a short matter of time that that farmhouse was a place where light was revealed in a place of darkness, and hope in a place of despair. And I truly felt in those moments that I was walking on sacred ground. What happened at that farmhouse, for me, represents the essence of what life is all about. And before I tell you exactly what happened, I want to share with you this evening something called the secret of the light. It begins from the very beginning of time. When God created the world, the Torah tells us, Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or, God said, let there be light. And there was a very beautiful, intense light that came into the world. But the mystics tell us that that light was so powerful that the vessels in the world cannot contain that light. And then that light was hidden in all places, in all times throughout human history. And then God created humanity. God created humanity as a response to the hidden light. And every human being throughout history, each and every one of us, has an opportunity and responsibility to reveal light in the darkest of places, to instill hope in places of despair, and healing in places of hurt. We are all responsible to lift up the world and to try to create a sense of wholeness and reveal this hidden light. This hit home for me when I had my birthday a number of years ago, and somebody gave me an insight from Rav Nachman of Breslov. Rav Nachman of Breslov says that the day that you were born is the day when God believed the world needed you. And on a birthday, it's a time to reflect that God believes that each and every one of us has a purpose. And the truth is, every day is not an accident that we're here, but every day is an opportunity where God says, I know the world needs you and the world needs me, because in my corner of the universe, in the world that touches me, there's some hidden light that needs to be revealed from the very beginning of time. The essence of leading a life of purpose is realizing that we are asked that question every single day. Do we strive every day to reveal the light that is within us? And do we share that light with the world? With that as a background, I can share with you what happened on the summer of 1942 in that farmhouse. It was a night that could be like any other night in the village of Markowa in Poland. And there was a young devout family, Joseph and Victoria Ulma, who responded to the brokenness that night and unleashed the hidden light every day for almost 18 months. They were the parents of 6 children under the age of 8, and the Nazis were deporting Jewish families to their deaths as part of the final solution. One night, 2 Jewish families knocked on the door, and they asked for refuge. One was the Zal family of 6, a mother and father and 4 sons, and the other was Golda and Leda Didner. And in that moment, the Omas had a choice. The easy choice would have been not to respond to the knock on the door. But in that moment, they realized that there was light that was hidden from the very beginning of time that they needed to reveal. And they realized that these two Jewish families were all children of God, and they let those families in the door. And in the deepest darkness of that night, they responded to the brokenness of the world, and they risked their lives. Every day they made a choice to reveal the light from the very beginning of time. And as I walked around the farmhouse, I sensed that God was truly in this place. Unfortunately, the story took a tragic turn. The Nazis found the Omas and murdered them, their 6 children, and also the 2 Jewish families. But I share that story with you because the Omas didn't care whether the families were Jewish or not, but they understood in that moment why they were born. They were faced with a fleeting moment, and they decided to seize that moment to create eternity and to lift up another human being. For me, this story, The Secret of the Light, is so much about what life is all about, and a choice that all of us have to make as we emerge from a COVID era to a post-COVID era. Are we looking simply to survive this moment? Thank God everybody who is on this Zoom is healthy, and God willing, we should continue and here. But to lead a life of meaning is not simply saying, I survived the past 2 years, but how am I going to grow from this moment so that I can thrive, so that I become the better version of myself? Not to throw up my hands and lament the darkness. We all can do that. There's so many challenges in the world, but rather to somehow find it within me every day to increase some of the light. I'm going to be doing a checkup with you today, and I got to ask you a question this evening. How many of you have a body? Raise your hand, please. How many of you have a soul? Raise your hand. Something inside of you that says you want to make the world a better place. Now, you know, all of us go for what I would call an alignment on a car, right? You're driving your car and you want to make sure that, you know, you turn the steering wheel in one way and it's going the right direction. You make an alignment on your financial portfolio, right? I'm sure many of us check our stocks every day to make sure that we're totally aligned with what our goals are. Too often, though, we don't actually align our bodies and our souls. The mystics say the body is compared to the horse and the soul is compared to the jockey. And the question in life is, who's leading who? Is the jockey leading the horse, or is the horse leading the jockey? I would venture to say that during COVID, we all had a moment when we had a little bit of an awakening to really think about what was truly important in life. To really think about, am I really doing the best that I can with the life that God has given me to reveal the light within me and the world that is around me? The challenge, though, is not only to have that awakening during the time of COVID, but to realize that every day is an opportunity to thrive and to reveal that light that is unique to each and every one of us. And I want to share tonight with you 2 strategies to help make sure that our souls and bodies are aligned. One is called Living Inspired, and the other is called Discovering Your Elijah Moment. Now, let me talk about Living Inspired. It's really about an issue of time. And I think we all appreciate the fact that, you know, you're starting to plan at the beginning of the summer and everybody's got all sorts of great plans. And you say to a person, what do you plan on doing this summer? And they give you all these plans. And then it comes to Labor Day and you say, how was your summer? What do most people say? It went by so fast. The challenge in life is not that we can stop time, but we can slow down time. Some of us have Paul McCartney disease, and some of us have Annie disease. What's Paul McCartney disease? You ask somebody how they're doing, and you guys didn't bring me in here to sing, but you can go, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. I could have, I should have, I would have. And then you talk to other people, you say, how are you doing? And all they could say is, tomorrow, tomorrow, things will be better tomorrow, but they're missing the moment right now. And living inspired means, and Robert Grudin says it beautifully in his book called Time and the Art of Living. Ask ourselves right now what we are doing that is worthy of future memory and how we remember this moment down the road. Living inspired means that at any time, in any place, we can bring a little heaven down to earth. And this is so clear. There's a message from the Bible and something that happened to me at JFK Airport that I want to share with you, which is the essence of living inspired. We know that Jacob, I'm not going to take a Bible quiz right now for Ann Arbor, but Margaret tells me you guys are very into it. So here, I'll just ask you a question. So Jacob is running away from his brother. We're going to read this Torah portion in a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden he goes to sleep at night. And what does he dream about when he is at sleep at night? He dreams about a what? A ladder going up and down. And then when he wakes up in the morning, he makes the following statement. He says, God is in this place, and I did not know. Herein is the gate to heaven, and here is the opportunity to come close to God. When Jacob put his head down, he had absolutely no idea that something special was going to happen. He thought that this was actually just going to be a place where he went to sleep, and then he left. But he realized in that moment that any place and any time, if our eyes and our hearts are wide open, we can bring a little heaven down to earth and turn a fleeting moment into something eternal. And I learned this so many ways, but one that stays with me. I was at JFK Airport a number of years ago. All of our daughters, thank God, after high school, they go for their gap year to study in Israel. And I was at security, and I was struggling. What do I say to my daughter when I'm about to put her on the plane? I'm not going to see her for around 9 months. You could say, please write. Somebody said, if you don't want to speak to her, give her your credit card, whatever. What do you say at that moment? And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw a father putting his hands on his daughter. And I realized in that moment that he was giving a blessing to his daughter. He was invoking the blessing that God should watch over her, that God should guide her and grant her peace. And at that moment, I am so grateful. I'll never forget where it was. I realized that that is what I wanted to say to my daughter. And I looked at her and I gave her that blessing. And I remember as I was leaving the airport, I said to myself, I want to give this blessing every Friday night to my children. Now you're probably saying to me, well, Rabbi, how come you don't do it every Friday night anyway? Are you saying that? Nod your head. Well, the tradition in my house was that my father only gives us the blessing right before Yom Kippur, once a year. I see Tammy's nodding her head. And I didn't want to divert from my father's custom. So I called my dad in Israel and I said, I don't want to divert from your custom, but I want to give a blessing every Friday night. So my father said to me words that I'll never forget. He said to me, if you have an opportunity to look your children in the eye on a Friday night and give them a blessing, that's what you should do. Then he said to me, if I had to do it all over again, that's what I would have done. A few days later, I shared that story in synagogue, and a fellow named Maury Rosenbaum said to me, Rabbi, it's not too late for your father to start giving you a blessing. So I called my dad in Israel, that's where he lives, and I said, I'm in my 40s, you're in your 70s. Would you mind starting to give me a blessing? My father said he would love to. And every Friday, my father, he's in Israel, and I was not born with the name Rabbi. He says to me, Donnie, I'm giving you a virtual hug from 6,000 miles away. And he gives me that blessing. And then I turn to my children. At this point, they're all out of the house. So I do it virtually too. Wherever they are, I give them that blessing as well. And I share the story with you as an example of living inspired, because this was one moment in time. One moment in time when my heart was open and I was able to take a moment that was fleeting and make it eternal. And I think about this for a moment. I don't know the name of the man and the daughter who gave the blessing. And he should live and be well, but I can imagine at the end of his life, God willing, in a long time, God is going to look at his life and God's going to say, remember that time you gave a blessing to your daughter in JFK Airport? He said, yeah. He said, well, there was a rabbi watching you. And that one action that you did created all this light in the world. And we have the opportunity to create heaven and earth at any moment and any time. And I want to share one other strategy with you that I learned during COVID. I think we all did. There's a story about a 93-year-old man from Italy who recovered from COVID, not this past summer, but the summer before. And on his way out of the hospital, he was given a bill for the ventilator for one day. It was about 5,000, whatever the currency was. And as he walked out of the hospital, he started to cry when he got the bill. And the doctor turned to him and said, "Are you crying because you can't pay the bill for the ventilator?" And he said, "No, I don't cry because of the money I have to pay. I can pay all the money. I cry because I've been breathing God's air for 93 years, but I never pay for it. It takes $5,000 to use a ventilator in the hospital for one day. Do you know how much I owe God? I never thanked God for that before." And I believe in my heart of hearts, there are a lot of people that didn't survive this time, and there are people that were just using artificial means to breathe. Every single breath that we take is God's way of saying, "I believe in you," is God's way of saying, "I love you," and that each one of us has a sacred purpose in the world. So simply the breaths that we take and being mindful of that is a way for us to stay inspired and realize the sanctity and the divinity and the opportunities that we have every day. But it's not only about living inspired, it's also about taking the light and the gift of every day and revealing a little bit of that hidden light in the world. And this is called, in my book at least, called the Elijah moment. How many of you have seen Elijah at your Passover Seder? Maybe? Elijah shows up at Passover Seders. He shows up at a Brit Milah circumcision. But Elijah is somebody that comes along and kind of gives us a lift when we need it most. The concept behind the Elijah moment is from a story about the Baal Shem Tov, the great mystic. There was one of his students that once went to the Baal Shem Tov and said to him, "I want to see Elijah the prophet." And the Baal Shem Tov turned to this fellow and said, "If you want to see Elijah, go into the forest and feed food to a widow that's there with her children. And I promise you, over Shabbat, you'll see Elijah the prophet." So he goes deep into the forest. He spends Friday night there, Shabbos day. Comes Sunday morning and Elijah's still not there. He goes to the mystic and he says, "You promised me I would see Elijah the prophet." The Baal Shem Tov says, "Take the food one more time, do the exact same thing, and I promise you'll see Elijah the prophet." He goes deep into the forest on Friday afternoon. He's within earshot of the widow. And he hears a child crying out to the mother. And the child says to the mother, "How are we going to get food this weekend for Shabbat?" And the widow turns to the child and says, "Just like Elijah came last week, Elijah's going to come again." And it was in that moment that he realized that he was the Elijah that this woman was waiting for. Discovering our Elijah moment means we may not be able to change the world, but each and every one of us can change the world of one person each day at a time. I thought about this a number of years ago. I was up in West Hartford with a group of women studying, and I asked them, "Tell me some of your most inspirational moments." And a woman said to me, "I was at the Big Y supermarket in West Hartford, and I was getting out of my car, and out of the corner of my eyes, I saw an elderly man with orthopedic shoes, and his shoes were untied. And I went over to him and I said to him, 'Can I help you tie your shoes?' And she bent over and helped him with his shoes. And she said, in that moment, I felt closer to God than almost ever before in my life." And I said to her, that was your Elijah moment. Because in that moment, you were the person that that individual needed most. Mark Twain said the two most important days of our life are the day when we're born and the day when we understand why. There is no encounter that any one of us has that is random. Every moment that we have, every encounter is an opportunity for us to make an impact on that person and elevate that person's life. I was in Philadelphia at a train station. I guess I looked like a very generous guy, but somebody came over to me and said, "Would you mind buying me dinner?" And I said, "Sure, I'll buy you dinner." And I said, "How about the Dunkin' Donuts?" And he said to me, "How about the Cajun food?" I said, "Well, it's fine. We'll go to the Cajun restaurant." So I brought him the Cajun food. And then I said to him, I said, "What's your name?" He said, "My name is Sam." I said, "Sam, God bless you." And he said to me, "God has already blessed me. He sent me you." And during this time of COVID, we have had Certainly a lot of challenges, but the opportunities that we've had to create explosive acts of kindness is extraordinary. We started something in our community called Making Mitzvah Moments. It was the height of the pandemic in the Northeast. And we knew there were people that couldn't get things at their home. So we started a WhatsApp group of people that wanted to respond to instantaneous acts of kindness. It literally created opportunities that we never felt possible. Till today, we deliver 30 to 40 challahs every Friday to seniors in our community. People come and they give challahs to them, flowers to them, ways where there was darkness that was hidden, but the light that can be revealed is extraordinary. That's what life is all about. Life is all about realizing the gift of every breath of every day, of bringing a little heaven down to earth. And life is also about finding a way in every encounter that we have to spread a little bit of that light to somebody else. I want to conclude by sharing a brief video, and then I'll share one final story with you. I can end there, but I want to tell you one other story. I mean, to me, this is really what it's all about. And I want to share, this week is Rabbi Jonathan Sax's yurtzeit, who was really a great thinker and teacher. And he would oftentimes share a story. He shared this at a Chabad Kiddush Shluchim. He talks about Chabad. They'll go anywhere, anytime to spread a little bit of light. And he says there's a story about a Chabad rabbi who went to Alaska because he thought maybe there were some Jews in this town. And he went to the town and he went to the mayor. And the mayor said, "There's no Jews here. You're wasting your time." And he said, "Look, just give me one opportunity to speak to the children in the classroom. And if I don't find a Jew, I'll leave." He went to the classroom and he said to them, "Does anybody here know anyone who's Jewish?" And one little girl raised her hand and she said, "My mother's Jewish." And he asked himself, what is he going to say to that girl in that moment? And this is what he said. He said, every Friday night, there is a tradition that we have as Jews, never to forget that we can light up a world of darkness, to bring healing in places of hurt. And Alaska is one of the last places on earth, the westernmost part, to light the candles on Friday night. And he said to this girl, the whole world is waiting for you to light Shabbos candles on Friday night. And I say to you on Arbor, the whole world is waiting for each one of you to light up the world that touches you. We are all here for a divine purpose that is unique and different every day than any other human being that existed in the world. And if we take a few moments every day to think about the beautiful light that God instills within us every day and the way that we can touch the world and light it up in the world that touches us, I believe that we will continue not only to lead lives of legacy, but we will thrive as a community. And God willing, someday we will merit when that hidden light is no longer hidden and God's light is truly seen all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Cohen, for those beautiful words. Yes, you can use your reactions in Zoom to express how much that touched your heart. I know it touched mine, and really, really appreciate your words. For those of you I don't know, I'm Rachel Wall. I work at Federation. You may remember me from trying to share a video earlier. I'm pleased to open up the floor here. We have the opportunity to engage with Rabbi Cohen for a few minutes and just in conversation, ask him any questions that you may have, anything you'd like to hear him go a little bit deeper into. So you're welcome to put questions in the chat. You can use the raise hand function in Zoom. You can physically raise your hand and I'll be on gallery view, and between me and other Federation employees, we'll make sure that we call on you. We'd love to open it up just for a few minutes. And while you're gathering your thoughts, I wondered, Rabbi Cohen, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about mindfulness and why that might be important as part of creating our legacy and how we can do that.
Thank you. Well, thanks again for the opportunity to be in your community. Mindfulness is so important because we're definitely, even more so today than let's say years ago, we get so distracted by so many things that come across our desks, these things right here, where it's so hard to turn off the outside noise. I believe, and it's not just my belief, but it's a very important Jewish thought, that every one of us has a voice inside of us that's calling on us to lead a better life. And sometimes the world is so noisy, we don't have a time to really reflect on that inner voice. So mindfulness is really about turning off the outside noise, being able to be fully present and engaged in the moment that we're experiencing right now, to listen deeply to who we are and who we want to be. And different people can do it different ways. Like I do that a lot. I never really enjoyed prayer that much as a kid, sorry to admit. But as I get older, I appreciate the sacred time. Taking walks outside, it's beautiful. Finding ways to journal, because it really allows us not to define ourselves by what the world wants us to define us to be, but really thinking about what's important. And rather than wait for a moment of crisis, when we do listen to that voice, it's really important to do that intentionally every day, in the morning a little bit and in the evening, so we're aligned with really what our aspirations are.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? I'll take a moment to see if anyone's. I'll try not to assume if just because you're shifting your seat that you want to speak up. Well, I can put one other question out and then we can open it again, and if nobody else has anything, then we can say thank you. I'm thinking about like the ways that we can start every day living a life of legacy and intentionality. And I'm wondering if you can share some ideas around that.
I'm actually going to do something right now with everybody, okay? I want everyone right now just to spend, we talked about the Elijah moment. Spend 20 seconds or 30 seconds right now thinking of somebody in your life who you said, what, I really should call that person, but never did. Somebody maybe who could use a little bit of a reach out. And you can really create a little bit more, whether it's light or we call chizuk, strength in their life, letting them know how much they mean in your life. Everyone think about one person, nod your head. So I'm now giving you permission. I want everyone here right now to take their phones out right now as we speak. I'm giving you 30 seconds of sacred space. And I want you to send an email to that person right now, or send that person a text right now saying, I want to tell you about the Elijah moment. I love you. I'm thinking about you. Or just say, you're really important to me. You're on my mind. Right now, it is, at least according to my clock, 8:17. And the reason why I say that is because 8:17, we're making that into a sacred moment. That moment will never be here again on this night, in this moment. That's the way that life has meaning. It's not only about planning, but it's about, I believe this is something that Rav Kook said, that when you have something in your soul, and we all have this, like, I should do this, or I should call this person, that's your soul speaking to you and saying, do it right now. Because if we don't do it right now, it's, we lose it. So take those moments when you feel the inspiration and transform it into action. And that's one of the key ways to create a life of deep meaning and impact. Someone just posed something in the chat. I'll just respond to that one. Can you say something about eulogies and how you put those together? It's funny. I mean, rarely I've had somebody who said to me, I think you should say this about me. That doesn't work that way. But it's funny because when I meet with families, I'm less interested, and this is I write in the book, about tell me somebody's biography. I'll really say to them, tell me about what values the person stood for or powerful memories that stay with you, because that really represents the essence of how that person is going to live on in that individual. So when I do funerals, every rabbi does it differently, but I always speak last because I believe it's important for the family who really knew the person best to speak. And then what I try to do is really reflect back so that they walk out of there, and not only the people that are the mourners, but King Solomon says something extraordinary. King Solomon says it's better to go to a funeral than a wedding. Now, the truth is we'd all rather be at weddings than funerals, but his point is that at the end of a wedding, the next day you said you had a great time, and then you say, oh my God, I ate too much. Or it's not necessarily a life-transforming experience, but a funeral can be an opportunity to really help that individual and the family find comfort in knowing that their legacy will live on in everybody that was there. So I really try to use it as a teachable moment to say, you know what, that person spent a lot of time with their family in this way. They always made sure that they were fully engaged and weren't living, with, let's say, things in other places. So we have to then say, how am I today going to bring that person's memory into my life so that in my family or my universe, I'm now carrying that person's flame forward.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Susan, for that question. Is there anything else that folks want to add to this conversation?
You can always feel free to reach out anytime. So thanks for the time.
Yes, thank you so much, Rabbi Cohen, for being here with us tonight. And for bringing this message about connecting with our legacy. Everyone here tonight is here because they care about the future of the Ann Arbor Jewish community. And I think this is a really important reminder that we can do that in every day of our lives. So thank you so much. I'm pleased now to introduce Eileen Freed, the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation of Greater Ann Arbor.
Good evening, and I won't be long, but it's very, very important to say some thank yous, to share gratitude. For me, that's one of the ways that I like to put light into the world, is to make sure that people receive the gratitude and thanks for the work that they do. So firstly, Rabbi Cohen, thank you so much for your words, and they were very meaningful. And I actually was listening to something earlier today about a woman in Israel who did some work, and she talked about everybody has there are so many holes in the world. There are so many ways in which the world needs to be fixed. And she was putting her attention to one little hole and working to fix that. And your words made me think of the light that she was putting into the world. And I appreciated having those that context. So thank you so much for your remarks and for helping us think about how we can put light into the world. I want to say thank you so much to the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, Harold Grinspoon himself, and those who conceived of this amazing vision of helping Jewish communities of all sizes and resources to develop a culture of legacy giving and stewardship to ensure our sustainability, and not just that vision, but making it happen. The work we do here in Ann Arbor could not happen without the support and the training and the resources that we receive from our legacy consultant, Tammy Dolan. So thank you so much for all you do. You really enable us, you shore us up and make it possible for us to do what we do here locally. In addition to the very generous financial support we received from the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, we're grateful for additional financial support from Mike Levine. And these funds assist the Jewish Community Foundation and Jewish Federation of Greater Ann Arbor to make this communal effort possible. I want to thank all our amazing communal partners, our team leaders, our team members. You all brought such enormous enthusiasm and hard work, which have made this program so successful in our community. You've heard about it. People aren't just being nice. We've done an amazing job, and you should all be very proud. So an effort like Life and Legacy requires a strong leader, and our leader is Life and Legacy Manager Margaret Schreiber. And she took the reins of this program, and she's ably encouraged, cajoled, coordinated, and reported on the success of our 11 teams. This evening's wonderful event would not have happened without her leadership and the support of the entire Federation team. So thank you to Da and Kola Kavod, Margaret, and thank you to the rest of the team who have been behind the scenes and done such a beautiful job this evening. Finally, I want to thank all of you. Through your legacy gift, you've made a commitment to supporting and ensuring the success of our local community long into the future. We look forward to seeing all of you in person next year at our second annual Life and Legacy celebration. Thank you so much. Have a very lovely evening. Toda rabah and Laila Tov.